So let's start with how last week markets rose 12%, the biggest rise, I guess, since 19 something something. Everything is since 19 something something. So do we believe it? What do we do from here? Go Nishit first, then Mo. Ankita, whenever you want, just say hand in and then step in, but it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna listen in, like you said, just because I'm amateur at all of this. So just here to learn more than contribute, I guess.
Definitely. But if you have something to say, just raise your hand. So we'll start with Nishit, and then Panda, and then Mo, and then I go.
Yeah, I'm still on the sidelines. I'm not trusting anything right now. I think we're going to see another dip before a true bull run. To be very honest, and this week would probably give us a direction or kind of some sense of that on how we close this week. Mainly, I think that SPY, which I usually track to understand the market, is going to keep oscillating between 260 and 280. And if it breaks either one of those with a heavy volume, we will know what direction it's going in. But I'm still on the sidelines. I'm not getting into anything right now.
So you feel we're range bound till we break?
Yeah, yep. I'm waiting for a direction, a true direction.
Okay. Panda.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way what I said last week. Like we might have some sideways, but I mean, looking at the chart, it does look like a V-shaped recovery. So I don't think it's gonna go down again that much. There might be some dips here and there, but I was tracking futures yesterday and then again this morning, and things were like down, but it pretty much like came back up in 300s. And if you look at the Nasdaq, that's in positive because most of the tech stocks are up and the healthcare is up. So I really don't know if we'll go back to that. You might trade sideways for this earning season, but I don't see any big dips. Well, I mean, it can happen, but I don't think it should.
Okay. So you're the most positive of the lot, I guess. And Nishit brought up a topic of bottom or no bottom. I guess your answer is yes, a bottom.
Like the bottom has already happened. Yeah, that's what I
Wow.
think.
Yeah, okay. Pretty sure. Mo. Sorry. Yeah, Mo.
Hey, Goldman Sachs came out and they said, we have a bottom in place and everything is great. I'm still trying to figure out how is everyone pricing things. Like how are the earnings going to look? Like I'm still trying to figure out like how that will happen. And like I'm just looking at like, on Wednesday, retail sales come out and they're expecting a 5% decline. I believe it's like year over year in March.
Just 5%?
Yeah, like it's either month over month or I don't know, but like it's a 5% number. I just looked while you guys were talking, and it's just like if that's the case, that would be one of the biggest declines like on record, or at least since like the financial crisis. And I don't know how people can call a bottom based on no data. Like how do you say that, right? And that's one of my biggest concern. And again, I think there are three phases of the bear market. We talked about this, and this is the suckers rally or the dead cat bounce, and we see another leg down. Or that's what I think at least, right? But yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah, so I guess we have such a good mix: negative, stable, positive.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I'm range bound / negative a little bit. So I feel like we'll drag lower the more we digest where it goes. So right now we're counting, I guess we're like, the base case is May opening. Everybody's talking about May opening, right? Including Fauci to Trump. Everybody is saying May opening. So I guess the base case is we will open in May and gradually, slowly open. So it seems very positive. Nobody will go bankrupt. Everybody's here to buy everybody. Market is going to open again. Why worry? Everything is good. I don't know. So I guess, so Buffett hasn't yet come out. He's actually, I'm looking at like insider sellings, and Berkshire is still selling. So Bank of New York, I looked at their Finviz, and Berkshire was like selling. So he feels it's not done, I guess. I'm not saying we should watch him necessarily, but I feel there is some more negativity to come. Maybe we overreacted, but we will drift down as we realize that So again, YouTube, I'm watching every YouTuber say, oh, it's the opportunity, buy, buy, buy. You know, like everybody's buying hotels, tourism, but I feel we're discounting how short term the impacts are. I feel like impacts are way more longer term than that. Like a lot of habits will change like for months and months, if not years to come. And these industries will not get back up. And maybe the earnings will give an idea how bad it is. What on the positive side, I'll just end with this. On the positive side, some earnings may actually surprise, and some companies we may find out are really nothing to do with it. I think Roku had a good news after market today. I have some Roku. Like it, people are staying in. Roku may go up actually, so there, we might find some good spots in earnings. But I feel like there is a lot of digestion to happen, or realization to happen about how long term really this bad is.
Can I just just out of an opinion, when this whole COVID thing started, I sort of fell off following the market, just got busy in other ways. But speaking from when we should be reopening, just from like an insider perspective, I guess, is the fear of a surge if we open too soon. And then we start seeing cases go up and death rates increase, you're going to see another plummet in the market. And I personally also think that we haven't hit bottom, but like I said, I'm speaking on a very with very limited information because I haven't been following that well lately. But I personally don't think we've hit the bottom just yet. The whole stimulus check of $1,200, like I don't think that's going to hold people over. I think people are going to fear. There's a lot of fear right now that's driving the market. So you see any sort of negative news, if you reopen too soon, you see a little bit negative news come through, I feel like we're going to hit another low. So we've already gone down pretty low, but then we have room, in my opinion, to go down further. But
so this is did you see this chart? I guess we sent on a group chat, which Morgan Stanley released a 3-year timeline on what they think is going to happen medically. When the peak of new cases is going to happen, when the testing capacity is going to go up, and when they project new cases will be coming in again. Just look at it and tell us later on what your opinion is on that. I guess it's not visible here, but one interesting thing I was thinking before we move on from that topic is how, I guess the next topic would be how would we open up and how does that impact things? So listen to this. I feel if social distancing guidelines aren't in place, if we're thinking restaurants will go back up to where they were, what if A, the people will not come in, but B, what if we're required to maintain 6 feet distance between the tables? The capacity of restaurants will be cut to 1/3. What do you think?
I think we're going to see a partial opening up if we see any opening up, and like I said, we go back to normal when we're actually, like we decide on a group chat that we're going to go to a certain bar or club or whatever it is to hang out. That's when normal is. I don't think we're getting to normal anytime soon. It's going to take a few months for me to be comfortable, taking a plane ride from here to New York, or it'll be a long time before I'm comfortable doing all these things. And and that's just me, but there are a lot of people who are thinking the similar way. They may open up in May, but will you go out to shop like you did in January? That's the question.
So they're talking about the first thing to open up is manufacturing plants, right? Like car plants. So the demand was 16, 17 million annualized rate. Well, now the demand is 4 to 5. Well, you're not going to go back manufacture 16. There's no demand. So
that's the problem, right? Like you're going to open up manufacture, build up things. Like people are only going to buy one thing after, it's been I think of it as like haircut, right? Like I go at the end of this, I'm going to get one haircut, not 3 or 8 or 10. Just one haircut and I'm done, right? And that's what you have to think. Like people who are people who used to go every month, now they're only going one time in 3 months or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So you have to think of it that way too. So it's going to have a long-lasting impact, in my opinion. And
do you think impact would be just consumer behavior, or government would enact the social distancing guidelines, resulting in theaters can be only 1/3 full?
I can see that. I can actually see that.
Airlines could be like no middle seat, like everybody
Yeah,
only.
yeah. I can see that, but you know, with if that's what's happening, might as well just keep everything closed until until we get it out of the way, right? Like just I don't know, like it's capacity. Yeah, like restaurants would like to open for sure. Like I
Maybe
know they
prices
would.
go up if if for all businesses to be profitable, if they can only serve so many capacity.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they'll have to raise prices. They'll have to do they'll have to pay for their expenses. If they're taking in 100 customers a day, for example, when they used to take say 300, they're gonna have to come up with some creative way to either government pays them. That's even another issue I don't want to get into. But then,
So how do we make the most out of businesses opening back? What do you think? What do you all think is the best sector to bet on? Nishit has an answer, I feel.
No, I don't have an answer. There are no right or wrong answers in this case. But I think we are kind of trailing because I think if we just follow what's happening in China, because Wuhan opened up, right, and what exactly is going on, we'll get a pulse of because here's the thing. No government as of today knows what the right answer is, right, on opening up things or doing whatever they want to do, right? So I think a lot of them would be leading, kind of looking at like either South Korea or China. I don't think anyone trusts China a lot right now, but in terms of numbers, right? But I think in terms of strategies, that would be leading and looking at what goes right, what goes wrong, because we still are like a month behind from the peak or whatever, right? So I think China is going to drive, and whatever happens in China, those outcomes are going to drive what are the strategies that will be implemented in other countries. That's my 2 cents.
So what would you bet on for the economy turning back on? Which sectors would recover the fastest, do you think?
I would say airlines will recover, especially in countries. I would say especially in developed countries where airlines is the right mode of travel. It's essentially the only mode of travel. Because at the end of the day, business travel has to happen, right? And people will. One thing I'm also kind of noticing on social media is people are kind of getting anxious of just being at home, right? So it's also having a different effect where like I want to go out on a vacation as soon as this is all said and done, right? So it would kind of be tied up to consumer confidence, like Mo said earlier, where are you going to be confident enough that you'll be flying in an airline? We don't know, but sooner or later it's going to come up. And you're right, what you said earlier. I think airlines are going to increase prices because they need to make something back out of what was lost, right? Maybe average consumer might not travel, but business travel is still going to happen anyways. So airlines is definitely going to recover. Cruise lines, not too early. Hotels, I'm kind of iffy, but because it's again also related to business travel. And to be very honest, if Hilton comes and says that we are making sure and we are sanitizing everything, I would trust a hotel more than an Airbnb or something along those lines.
That is actually good, because just like Clorox sales are going up, like trusted brands will have higher market share. When people start to go out, they will trust brands they know.
Completely agree with that. The trusted brands or people who with like it's like the Tylenol thing that happened like years back, and you read about it in school textbooks where Tylenol came out, took out all the supply of Tylenol, and then said we have taken out everything, and we're gonna do as great as we can. I think we're gonna see a lot of that, and the big brands are going to do.
Nishit says airlines. What do you say? What's going to come back more stronger than not, and maybe we should bank on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at think of it as like this is more of a I don't know how to explain this, but I'm thinking like basic materials, because they will be they will be needed somehow before we start. Like there is demand down the road. Right now, like let's take oil for example. Oil, copper, or platinum and things like that, they got hit fairly hard over this sell-off. It is possible that we see some sort of a leading you call it, like,
I did not know how you brought that back to commodities, but okay.
I always bring things back to commodities because they're my favorite. But I think
Okay.
like look at oil. Oil might if he start to see things pick up a bit, oil comes back a little bit, and then
Okay.
then we go from there.
So Panda, your turn. Nishit says airlines. Mo says airlines do good. Oil do good.
Yeah, I mean, see, last week I was more of like all these restaurants that allow pickup delivery, like QSR is there, then your Chipotle. They have been coming back up. Yeah, airlines, I agree. Like I have bought some airlines, I bought some again. So I think major airlines that have good balance sheet, they will definitely come back much faster
What about
than.
bailout? When is that going to happen?
Yeah, I was about to ask that. Like I think because was it more that I asked you like if they get money from the government, like how does that affect? Like does that increases something that like is it good to buy, or is it more of because a lot of times there were like all these factors that liquidity will increase and government might want to stake in it and stuff like that.
Also, we don't know the terms yet. That's why I'm waiting. Like
and that's where I think like Buffett came out and just sold whatever he had to sell, because I think the investors may get crushed in this. So step back a little bit and just wait until you figure out the terms, what the government wants. Because Mnuchin came out today and he said something about how there's some taxes that airlines have to pay, and that's why airlines stocks kind of came down a bit today. So it was again, it's all terms. Like, how big of a ownership government will take in this, and then we go from there.
Another thing of Buffett is I think he's traditionally stayed away from overregulated sectors. So he may see that the regulations may go way up in airlines now.
Right, I can see that.
After financial crisis, banks used to deal with it. Yeah. Now there will be stress tests, and I think the buybacks are done forever for airlines, like for many months, like a long time to come. Airlines will
they're going to be like the banks from 2008, 2009. No dividends, no buybacks. You don't do anything until we tell you to do anything.
Maybe that's why also he's less interested anymore. Like, yeah, he wouldn't get any dividends out of it as well. So, okay. I feel like restaurants will come up. Like the first thing, if allowed, what would I do, right? Instantly, I wouldn't take a trip. I wouldn't travel unless told to do. I wouldn't take a cruise line. Like, what would I do? I would go out. Like, that's one thing I want to do. So I feel like people would want to go out. I'm not buying any restaurant stocks, though. I feel like Starbucks could be safe enough where, like, a lot of people anyway take it and go. And that would actually help their throughput because less people sit, more people take away. I don't think they're going to cut prices. So I'm not invested in it because of valuations and it's come back up. But I'm saying like those businesses would pick up sooner than later. Like Dunkin' Donuts, I feel like there should be no impact. Like I feel people would feel safer and want to go out. So what's the first thing I'm gonna do? Go out locally and spend, not go to theaters, but where in groups of 3 or 4 or 5, we can go out.
And these things are not expensive, right? Like Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks. So I would be like, even if you don't have a job or anything of that sort where, you're struggling, you'll still go out to Dunkin' and like you can have a coffee versus, I don't know, Tiffany, like to buy like something.
Or habits have changed. Now they won't, I guess. I mean, Starbucks is a luxury. So I don't know if people are in the mood of luxury right now, but.
Yeah, I'm getting used to homemade coffee. That's ridiculous.
Right? Like, Same thing happened in financial crisis. Like many people got used to it then.
Right.
So it seemed like, except airlines, there is no clear winner though for investing to bank on the start to back up. Ankita, do you have any thoughts on what would bounce back faster?
We're not China. Like the United States versus China, culture, discipline. So I know earlier you were mentioning about, China, South Korea, like those countries serving as a role model as to how we'll slowly open up if and when we do. But the United States versus these other countries, like our discipline, our interests, our culture is very, very different. So they must have I mean, I don't know. I haven't been following, like I said. So I don't know in terms of as China's opening up, what are they opening up step by step? I'm not sure. For the US, I think those that are financially capable of going out to fancy restaurants will definitely take the opportunity to do so once it opens. And there's also a lot of people, like even myself, like I love going out to restaurants, but I've gotten so used to now cooking at home that like it's become a new habit. So our culture and our habits in the US, even for people who may be financially stable, we might have a different approach to things now, and we might be a little bit more cautious. So I don't feel that restaurants are gonna do that well even after we open up. There'll be a small sector, I think, of the US that financially would just go out and do it and doesn't affect them. But I feel that people have transformed their habits, at least even in the last month, to like learn to save better, learn to cook better, learn to I think our culture is transforming in the US. So I think our discipline in the US prior versus now is going to evolve. At least for me, like personally, I used to just want to, oh, let's go out to eat. But like now it's like, I think I'm going to try cooking something new at home. So, I don't know how other people feel. I'm just speaking again from my personal experience in the last 6 weeks. So I think in terms of what's going to be open, I see essentials like, getting my hair cut, like basic essentials, like self-care things, things for people to, exercise more with. I don't know if people are gonna like invest more in, I don't know, gym memberships or something like that. Something to like, again, essentials and self-care might go up because people haven't been able to go out and get their exercise or haven't been able to get their haircuts or I don't know. Those types of businesses I think might still do a little bit better because people are going to go out and be like, okay, I need to like take care of myself.
Yeah, it's crazy how we're trying to think something that has never happened. Like if now people are let out, what would they do first?
Yeah.
And one thing though that is pretty common I've been hearing is like the basic impact of all this would be the savings rate will go up. People will save more. Well, my theory is that would only help stock markets because where would they put money? If we have negative interest rates, they're going to put it back to stocks. So valuations will go up for actually even lesser earnings because they're not spending the money to the companies that they were spending to before. So lesser earnings, higher stock prices. What do you think?
I think we had a lot of debt going in. So there will be a lot of debt service payments from the savings that people are making. And that's where I'm thinking, like I was talking about earlier as well in my live and other followers. You have a situation where the Federal Reserve is printing money. The government is spending money like there is no tomorrow. You would expect some sort of hyperinflation. But if you really think about it, what is really happening is the Federal Reserve is giving money to make sure that there are no bankruptcies. So it's essentially coming back to like, hey, let's just pay off the debt, and make sure the debt it goes on. So maybe it is possible that we, instead of savings rate going up or savings increasing, we actually just see people just paying off their debt.
What is the, let me ask you, I haven't looked again, what is the dollar value? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Where does the dollar stand right now compared to before this happened? Again, I haven't checked.
Give me 1 second. Let me give you a little bit. So right now, dollar has been strengthening a bit. Like when all this sell-off started, dollar started to move higher because whenever there's a crisis, everyone rushes towards dollar because dollar is a safe haven. That's where all the trade, all the global trade happens in dollar. All the debt payments a lot of debt payments happen in dollars. So people needed cash, and all of a sudden you saw the dollar spike. Federal Reserve came in to make sure that there is no shortage of the dollar. So the dollar has declined a little bit. Mm-hmm. But will the shortage happen again? I don't know, but that's what happened to US dollar.
So we have 10 minutes to go. Let's start with Panda because he's into options. Question is, earnings season is coming up. What are we playing now with whatever we know? What are we banking on making the most of the earnings season? Panda, then Nishit, then myself than Mo.
I'm not playing earning seasons with options. What I'm trying to do is I'm buying like long-term options and I'm just selling them for gains. Because what's happening right now, if you see a lot of options, even I was looking today at few of them, which like Ford and other things, the implied volatility is so high. It's like in 80s, 90s, 150s, 200. So you're paying a lot of the premium because their IV is very high. So what happens is around the earnings time, especially after the earnings, all of that IV will crash. So if I buy something at that high price, I would like to first I will not buy. And if I buy, I'll buy like really, really long term, like January 2021 or June 2021, and just sell it close to earnings. So playing
So,
earnings with options right now is not a good idea. I wouldn't do that.
okay, not doing. Okay. Nishit?
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat, but I'm still using the implied volatility to my advantage. So what I've done is I've stocked up on airlines. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough buying power to stock up on banks. But let's say if the earnings is a surprise, a positive surprise, right? Everything would go up in terms of implied volatility when it comes to options, right? What I'm planning to do then is to sell covered calls and make use of that kind of credit that I can get. But at this point, just guessing the earnings is a pure gamble. Like you don't know until you see a trend. Like tomorrow, Wells Fargo, I guess, is reporting earnings, and JP Morgan. So it would be interesting to see the direction, and it would be then safer to bet on like future earnings like Bank of America and other companies. But as of today, it's a pure gamble.
Yeah. I feel like I'm interested to see like what companies may do better and not thought of. So there is a sector of companies which have come down. The stocks have come down, but they're actually not that much impacted. And I guess a subsector to that is like second zone or third zone e-commerce companies. So 3 companies in the last 2 weeks have gone up like 40-50%, or not come off from the highs. They're all second or third ring of e-commerce companies. So Wayfair, it came from 30 to 80 because company pre-announced that we don't have any issues at all. Demand is actually going up. Etsy went from 33 to 55, again, e-commerce, but we don't really look at it that way. But it is kind of e-commerce, and their sales were not impacted, again, ordering from home. Shopify hasn't come down. It's still at 450-ish, pretty close to the highs. I don't have a pick right now, but I feel I'm going to look into that. And if there is some company in that range of businesses, which is e-commerce, eBay, I don't know. So they may, if those stocks haven't recovered, then I'm going to pick 1 or 2 of those. But that's the only one I feel like is undiscovered. Everything else, companies are pretty uncertain themselves. So it's pretty hard to say. I was going to bank on Facebook first, but they pre-announced that they're already seeing downturn. So in ad market.
So when it comes to earnings, I'm not really predicting any earnings because you can't. It's very difficult. So what I'm looking out for is surprises. If someone comes out, like, if everyone, for example, banks, I think they're gonna do horrible, most likely. But if some bank comes out in a good shape, saying that they're not seeing as much default, and you have some sort of surprise, I can see people jumping on the stock and just taking it higher. So positive surprises. Whenever there's a positive surprises, jumping in could be like good speculation there. And I'm also looking at talking e-commerce. Angie, ANGI is a symbol. Angie's List. That's something interesting over the past few days. I'm seeing a slight bump in the stock price, and I feel like as more people are home, things are breaking at home, and maybe maybe they could see a positive surprise. The structure of the company is slightly confusing, but as a speculative bet, I think that could be something to look out for. That's about
so let's keep an eye for our next weekly things. If we see a company that like there's so many companies that will be reporting, we don't know, but if we can keep an eye on any companies that say they're not really impacted as much as we thought, then make a note on our group and let's all dive down on that. So 5 more minutes. Let's go to Ankita. With all you know, do you think, so she works, as I said, in the front line. So do you think we're all like being too optimistic, or like the market's participants are usually like, what do you think? Is the market off?
I think we're being optimistic too soon a little bit. The reason for that is there have been a lot of reports about patients who've gotten COVID and then are free of COVID and then are being reinfected again. There's a lot of information about antibody testing that the antibody testing isn't exactly valid enough. So I think it's good to be optimistic, being such a powerful country, or hopefully we stay a powerful country. I think it's good that people are being optimistic. It's interesting how, sometimes just to, again, opinion, but when Trump speaks and he says, everything's great, everything's awesome, I think it sort of keeps people from panicking, which is good in the general public, even though the information sometimes isn't the best. And I think that sometimes actually even stimulates the economy a little bit, just him just being like, everything's fine kind of thing. So I think we're just being optimistic too soon. I think we don't have enough data to go off of to determine exactly when we'll reopen. And reopening step by step is probably the safest way. But I think we're just a little too soon. And I keep an eye, obviously, on pharmaceuticals personally. So Merck, GSK, a lot of vaccine pharmaceuticals are always an eye that I'm looking at in terms of stock prices. So you'll see Merck, GSK are. I think BMS also has some things. So you'll see like their stock prices slowly rising because pharmaceuticals is going to be huge in terms of vaccine production as well as medication. We're running out of medications, so we're seeing drug shortages already in the hospital setting. So there should be a lot of, in my opinion, in-house production of pharmaceuticals versus overseas in the future versus, a lot of active pharmaceutical ingredients are made in China right now, in India. I think the United States will hopefully slowly start to move towards a lot of in-house production, starting with the API itself. So I keep an eye on pharmaceuticals, but like I said, I think we're optimistic too soon.
Okay.
And hopefully the people that are optimistic are looking at it in the right way, and I'm wrong. I hope to be wrong, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I feel like Panda just left. Maybe he comes back, but in absence, yeah, other than Panda, I feel like the general conception is we're too optimistic too soon. So do you have any biotech picks for us or pharma picks for us?
Like I said, I haven't been following too much. I just the vaccine companies I keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing big yet. Like I said,
Okay.
I've been, my favorite is Tesla. So as you know, I kind of keep an eye on some of my favorites that are not pharmaceutical related.
Okay.
But I recently started to pick up some of the vaccine companies because the need is there, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go around and say maybe one company that we're super confident of or super worried about going into earnings season. I'll start. I'm really confident about Google coming up with a lot of YouTube watching, although the ad market may go down, but they'll also be pretty central to the government in tracking and tracing. I feel their relationship with government will improve as we go towards more tracing and data tracking, and business is on and usage is more and more, no less. It's just the ad market suffering, but that's what I'm super confident about. Worried about Disney. A little Disney, but I'm worried about their parks are shut, their movie theaters are shut, their
in a very bad shape.
is shut. I don't know what's happening with them. I feel like the stock has just dropped 20, 30, 20, 25%. It's too less. I don't know. So not adding right now. Nishit, then Mo, then Panda. What are you confident about or worried about going into earnings season?
I'm not confident about anything because it's going to be a surprise. However, I think Facebook for some reason, and this is literally just gut feeling. I think it's going to be a positive surprise because I know that our revenues and everything would have been impacted, but if you think about Instagram, right, and the number of users that might have increased, right? I know three people who never used to use Instagram are now kind of using their IGTV and stuff like that, right? So when you think about customer adoption, right, and kind of them getting a bigger market share now, it would be interesting to see how the market reacts. Negative earnings, but like positive customer growth. So Facebook is actually the only one that I'm kind of tracking in terms of earnings to see if my predictions are right or wrong.
Great. Awesome. 30 seconds each, Panda and Mo.
Mo, go.
Oh,
What's
I'm
that?
going.
Yeah.
Again, earnings season, do not try to predict it because you don't know what you're going to get at the end of it. So don't try to predict, but I'm looking at NG. Just another interesting idea that I don't think anyone is looking at low value stock. Like it's just like, price action looks good. Fundamentals are decent. Could see slight move to the upside. I'm just going to add a little bit to Nishit on Facebook. He said, I'm talking to a lot of friends of mine who are in small business. They have cut their they've cut their spending on Google ads, but they're spending more on Facebook because it's more targeted and more they can get more results and much better targeting that way. So and at the same time, a lot more people are on Facebook now and Instagram than they used to be before.
Awesome.
Panda,
Google, Facebook, NG, Panda, go.
Boeing. I'm buying a lot of Boeing and Berkshire Hathaway.
Positive, both of them?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So our last week's video on YouTube at 38 views. It'll keep growing, but this is a good